Hello, I'm Douglas, your instructor on research methods on the model of tradition of qualitative inquiry. On the previous lessons, we focused on what is the focus of ethnography, what is the role of the ethnographer, where does it take place, and what form does it take. On today's lesson, we shall cover the research designs in ethnography, and the first one is the research problem. We all understand that research problem is the discrepancy between what is and what ought to be. As a researcher, you don't give the situational analysis, but you state the problem. The ethnographers enters the field with an open mind. This does not mean that he or she goes with an open head. An open mind means having a few assumptions about a set of relationships. You explore rich, untapped sources of data not mapped in the research design. Before asking questions in the field, the ethnographer begins with a problem, a theory or a model or a research design, a specific data collection technique, tools for analysis, or specific writing styles. Hammersley et al. Indicates that an ethnographer usually have a foreshadowed problem whereby the research begins with a tentative research problem or the set of issues that come from theoretical studies or observation or encounters with social events or personal experiences. For instance, you must have a flexible design approach. To get to a research problem, personal experience must be analyzed or subjected to analytical reflections. Because once you're doing a study, most of the studies have to come from what? A research problem within a community or within a society which you are familiar with or which you are not familiar with. So, as already said, ethnographers select a theory which helps them to define a problem and how to tackle it. But just unlike in social sciences, in natural sciences, scientific laws helps us to know how the world or machines work, like hydraulic theories. But in social sciences, theories helps us to practice how the social world works, and everybody tackles a problem with a theory or a set of theories in mind and how things work. So this is the difference. And in ethnographic research, there are concepts are developed or selected with a slightly different form that imply in qualitative research strategy. So let's move on sampling procedures. In ethnography, sampling is done according to time, people, context. So you find that ethnographers make decisions whether to study temporal orders or historical processes, that is, cross-sectional or longitudinal, time of the day or night, round the clock, days of the week, continuous or interrupted fieldwork. So all those different time periods might reveal different rates and patterns of the phenomenon being studied. For example, if you're studying a slum, if factory, if hospital, if prisons, if educational setting, or street trade. So in terms of duration of study, it's advisable that ethnographers to resist carrying out uninterrupted research and participate in everything that goes on. Interrupted fieldwork allows periods of productive reflections and analysis of data. People. Ethnographic technique does not rely on rigid sampling techniques methods as one would find in a survey. Ethnographer decides on who the informants will be, particularly those presumed to be knowledgeable about the research topic. So the most common sampling technique that is used is judgmental sampling, which is sometimes called purposive sampling. You select people with a purpose. So ethnographers rely on their judgment to select the appropriate member of the subculture or unit based on the research questions. Context. In the process of sampling, it is necessary to take into account variation in context. People manifest different kinds of behaviors in quite different contexts. In school, for example, behaviors of teachers often differ sharply between classrooms and staff rooms. This contrast is represented by Erving Goffman, who makes a more abstract distinction between front stage and backstage regions. Backstage involves fabricating behaviors, especially when a person rehearses behavior. Costumes of personal front may be adjusted and scrutinized in teams run through in performance check of offending expression when no audience is present. This is when one steps out of the character. Impressions are openly constructed. So it's like you're acting behind the curtain. So when you're behind the curtain, you're different. Your behaviors are different. Unlike in the front stage. The front stage is a real self-acting. One's behavior is manifested in a given environment may occur where the conditions are right. It is important, however, not to mistake places or physical places for context. Field relations. Under field relations here, I'll focus on how ethnographers access the fields. So accessing a field settings or getting in. This is facilitated through contacts with gatekeepers and informants. The entry to the field can be overt or covert, that is, openly and officially announced, or without members knowing the identity of the ethnographer. So, if gatekeepers are likely to block entry altogether, ethnographers resort to covert. Once they block you entry to access the field, sometimes you go to covert, which is close. You close at your identity. You don't reveal yourself that you're doing research on this and this. Some information you withhold. So all deception is negotiated. If a stenographer decides to enter the community without assistance, she or he can begin by, for instance, attending church services, volunteering time in schools, performing any non-threatening role. Either way, whether covert or by gain access, it can constrain research or lead to concealment of information. However, in many instances where access is impossible, the ethnographer has to get an escort, a powerful member of the community or a power broker. So these gatekeepers can be like the local council one, the administrators. So secondly, becoming invisible and visible. The ethnographer is not supposed to expose identity, research plan, or aim, but interacts and observes or records, does not influence, ensure the safety of self, notes, and subjects. Not all ethnographers remains invisible. Some live with indigenous people, having disclosed their identity and the purpose of the study. The thirdly is impression management. Whether the people have the knowledge of the ethnographers or not, they will be more concerned with what kind of the researcher is. Class, as I ensure you that once you're doing a research or once you're meeting maybe an important person for a discussion concerning a proposal, concerning a policy brief, your first impression matters a lot. So, remember, as you're in the field, you have to conduct yourself as an ambassador of that institution that you are doing that research for them. So, leaving that behind, under impression management, the members will always gauge the extent to which the new person can be trusted, what she or he might be able to offer as an acquaintance or as a friend, or as how she can be manipulated or exploited. Whatever the situation, the scenographers must think and negotiate identities in the field through impression management. As indicated earlier, to gain trust, the impression that poses an obstacle to accessing the information must be avoided, while those which facilitate must be encouraged. In negotiating identities, the stenographer is not supposed to attract attention, but to match their personal front to those people under the study in terms of dressing, talking, eating, walking, among others. However, those are ascribed characteristics that are not open to management, such as gender, race, sex orientation, and ethnic identification. For instance, male researchers may find it difficult to access the world of women, or Christians having access to mosque, or yeah, basically even other cultural shock, experience of estrangement in a community. So, data collection. This is a key principle in data collection is triangulation, contextualization, and being non-judgmental. Classical ethnographers requires long-term field work, especially if the ethnographer is studying foreign cultures. This is because the fieldwork is exploratory in nature. The ethnographer uses research of many kinds. For instance, starts with survey to learn the nature, to learn the basics, to get acquainted with native language, the kinship ties, historical data, personal participant observation, interviews, document analysis, life histories, filming, recording. So the methods complement each other to improve validity of the information gathered. This is because ethnographers are interested in getting as much detailed information as possible. One of the methods which ethnographers use is observation. Observations involves an observation of a wider context of people's lives. This includes social and the natural settings. The ethnographers observes, listens to the physical settings, the participants, relationships, and preferences. Local subgroups, they locate subgroups to observe, take notes, film events, records, communicates, works with notes, coding, and so forth. In the previous lesson, even we talked about participants' observation, where you observe, you participate, and you try to attach meanings to what you are observing. Interview. Interview is one of the most important techniques in ethnography. Ethnographer does not throw out questions in rapid succession. No, but you allow for long questions and probing. Probing means you are seeking extra information in an indirect manner. So sometimes you ask seemingly stupid questions, yet they are insightful questions because you want them to give you more information. But also you write down what is seen and heard. The hierarchy between the researcher and the research is less apparent than in formal interviewing situations. So ethnographic interviews are meant to draw the categories of meanings, people's thoughts, feelings, perception, and comparing informants' view to obtain shared values. Data analysis. Some ethnographers will take time off to analyze and reanalyze their data and writing as they conduct field work. While still in the field, the ethnographer must cross-check, compare, and triangulate this information, tries to put the puzzle together, and you have to build a knowledge base about the problem studied. Producing interim reports is productive because of the ethnographer has the benefit of feedback while still in the field. Because you analyze data as data collection is going on with ethnography. So it gives you time wherever you have not got some information, you have missed the point, you go back and ask again. So including informants' response improves the accuracy of descriptions, insights, and findings. It is also possible to go back to look for the missing information after. So in most cases, in analyzing data in ethnography, the use of language is not just a medium which information is exchanged. So instead, language itself becomes information. Keywords are retained in original language since many words cannot be accurately translated from one language to another. So, in contemporary ethnographers use EpiInfo, NVivo for analysis softwares to analyze their qualitative data, and also trying to combine these methods so that they produce thick descriptions. Finally, on disengaging out, getting out. Like the best reason to leave the field is the belief that enough data have been gathered to describe the culture or the problem convincingly and to say something significant about it. The law of diminishing returns determines that it is time for the ethnographers to leave the field. Leaving the field is not a straightforward matter like accessing the field. Leaving the field has to be negotiated. Sometimes participants are reluctant to let the researchers go, nor the ethnographer accepting to leave. Because if you're not careful, this is the point where most ethnographers, some of them, they can go naive. Going native means that you feel that you're part of the social group, you're part of the community, part of the people that you are studying, so you decline to get out of the field. So, but you get out of the field once you reach the point of saturations, the point where every response that you get seems similar. You find that the data is enough. The stenographers at that point must exit by dissolving relationships. And what follows is emotional disengagement. You're leaving, but your people you're researching that say that no, you cannot leave us. So this is where some people who are too emotional, others can feel pity for their friends. So that is disengaging out. Finally, on ethnography. Ethnography attempts to be holistic in conclusion, covering as much territory as possible about culture, subculture, or a program. The report, interpretation, and conclusion must ring true to the natives and the colleagues in the field. The readers may disagree with the researcher's interpretation and conclusion, that is ethic, that's outsider's perspective, but they should recognize the details of the description as accurate, emic insider's perspective from those whom you have been studying. Verbatim quotations are extremely useful in representing a credible report of research. So, finally, what are some of the limitations in conducting ethnographic research? Ethnography might not provide evidence supporting cause-effect relationships. It may not manipulate variables in order to identify a relationship, but simply present thick descriptions, as I indicated to you earlier. So, secondly, because only a single case or a smaller cases is studied, the representativeness of the finding is always doubtful. Though some primary concerns of ethnographic research might not be the representativeness, but the intrinsic interest in the phenomenon. Other limitations are lack of replications, inability to ensure objectivity, going native, distortion of the natural setting by the very presence of the researcher. I mentioned about going native. It's a serious thing in ethnography. Very serious. So, once you go native, this is the point where the university research ethic research committee has to come through to get you out from the field. So, I would like to thank you for taking time to walk with me through this course unit on the traditions of qualitative inquiry, and I would like to encourage you and invite you to attend my next lessons, and so that you get more on the research techniques. Thank you so much. See you on my next lessons. Bye.